Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is episode 30 of the SuperNova Show. And I am your host, Colton Roberts. We got an interesting show today. I've got Schmoedown Pro, Mr. Amaru Moses with me today. And I'm going to go ahead and bring him in. What's up?
What's going on?
Not too much. Just been reading some stuff. I've got, as of recording, we are recording this on Thursday, July 22nd, so I'm reading Into the Dark, the Star Wars High Republic novel. But by the time this comes out, I will have that finished, and I will hopefully be almost finished with Star Wars The High Republic, The Rising Storm novel. So that's what I'm doing with my life.
Which one of those did you get early access to and that you weren't supposed to have?
Out of the Shadows, which is another one, which is the reason why I want The Rising Storm to get done. I want to finish it by Sunday so I can start Out of the Shadows and get it out or finish it by the time it's officially released so I can put a review out for it.
I was going to say, you're actually just going to put all of your illegal activities on tape for everybody to see? Just say you got it anyway?
Yeah, well, it happens. Technically, I mean, they sold it to me at an official bookstore, so I don't.
That's true. That is true. So,
yeah,
not on you.
Yep. So that's all on them, I guess. Yeah, it's been a good week. Yeah, it's not been bad. It's been weird not having Loki on Wednesdays, and yeah, so I gotta wait till tomorrow or Friday for viewers to watch The Bad Batch. So that's been a really long week. Normally midway through the week, I'm like, ooh, get to watch something on Wednesday. But pretty much all I've been doing is reading. I went and got a haircut on Wednesday, shaved, so that was good. And then yep, and then this coming up Friday, I'm taking my wife out to dinner, which is the reason why we could not film it on Friday. But yeah, it's been good. How you been?
Same. Actually get to relax a little bit. Yeah, I just finished watching I started watching the movie Supergirl maybe 5 months ago. Maybe it's exaggeration, 3 months ago. And I stopped it. And I did not want to go back to it. But I finally finished it. It was really playing in the background. And then I moved into Catwoman, which was very much playing in the background. Those movies are bad. They're really, really bad. And I got a couple more movies that I need to get through that are just as bad that I'm just going to try to power through because I need to. Yeah. And then in a couple weeks or maybe 3 weeks, What If comes back. And I don't know if they're doing that Wednesdays or Fridays or when What If starts. And I'm very excited for that. But yeah, your Bad Batch, I don't watch Star Wars things like that. So unless it's Mandalorian.
Yeah. So, that's one of those things where I highly recommend the show. It's really, really good. But I understand people who, if they don't want to watch something animated, I understand. Or if they're not huge Star Wars fans, I understand that too. It's not.
It's the latter. It's not the animated stuff. It's more it's got to be a big Star Wars thing for me to really want to watch it. So a movie or something like Mando. But Star Wars has never been my my franchise like that. So I just watched the really, really big things.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. Mandalorian, it's really good. I like the first season, I think, more than the second season. But I love the second season. I'm a person who I posted a video on my personal channel Wednesday that I love The Mandalorian, but I don't like how much it's connecting to the sequels. They're trying to write that, they kind of include the cloning stuff And I get that they're trying to like kind of paint a picture of, oh, this is how Palpatine came back, so it's not as abrupt in episode 9, which is fine, I guess. But
it's set between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens, right?
correct.
Okay, so I don't mind that.
Yeah, so as long as they keep on doing like little nuggets like that, then it's fine. But if they're just like, if it goes into the future and they're like, ooh, we have to make Rise of Skywalker good, like make all the things people have complained about, we'll put it in this series that everyone loves, then I'm gonna have a little bit of a problem with that.
That's kind of been the problem with Star Wars and DC. They do something not great and then try to like retcon it with something that is really good and then try to make the thing that wasn't great look better. It doesn't make it look better. Rise of Skywalker is still not very good, no matter what you put behind it. It's not a very good movie.
Yeah, I agree completely. I can't, like, I have watched it twice in theater. I've watched it one more time for trivia purposes, but other than that, I have not. And that's the reason why I love all this High Republic stuff, because it's the five people, like they planned it all out. They've planned out the 3 phases of the High Republic stuff from the very beginning, and I love like they're peppering in stuff over and over through the comics, and the books and stuff. And I'm like, ooh, man, if the sequel trilogy had just had like a overarching mastermind and they had planned it out, it would have probably been so good. But the fact that J.J. Abrams pulled it this way and then Rian Johnson pulled it the opposite way, and then all the Rise of Skywalker is getting it away from Rian Johnson, and
I like both Force Awakens and Last Jedi a lot, but I think I would rather have seen a Rian Johnson trilogy.
Yeah.
What Last Jedi looks like than what JJ would have done. I think both would have been good if there was one clear direction, but I think the Rian Johnson's direction would have been more interesting than JJ's.
Yeah, like that was one of the aspects of The Last Jedi. Like I wasn't super impressed with the way they did Luke, but I loved all the stuff that they did with Rey and Kylo. Like they end that movie on totally different sides, and she is no one. And I loved that because like at the end of Force Awakens, you're like, ooh, who's she related to? And like, you know, people thought about it for like 2 years, and for her to just be like, for Star Wars just be like, hey, yeah, who she is related to, that's not important. Snoke, that's not important. And like, if you've read the script for what Colin Trevorrow was going to do with Duel of the Fates, it was going to be so good. And I would have been like, yeah, that's acceptable. But then, you know, Rise of Skywalker happened, and it was not. But, you know, it happens.
I guess, yeah. Well, it doesn't happen in the MCU, but at least not yet.
Yeah, so far, like, that's one thing, like, a lot of people have been like, you can't plan all that stuff out. I'm like, the MCU's done it. Like, the only thing that they've had to add to stuff was Spider-Man, because they didn't know when they started that they would get Spider-Man.
Yeah, they plan it out years ahead and weeks at a time. They plan out future, but they also plan it out. What is the movie we're doing right now? They've mastered how to do that. They do that pretty damn well. I still don't think there is one property in the MCU, TV or movie-wise, that's a bad movie. There are okay films, but nothing is bad. Everything is good or better.
Yeah.
So,
and even the bad stuff, it sprinkles in lore and stuff. It's not just like I think The Incredible Hulk is probably the worst film in the franchise. But guess what? They have Abomination, and he's showing up in Shang-Chi. So there's a connective thread there that...
I don't think The Incredible Hulk is a bad movie. It's a good film. I enjoyed the film. Even Thor: The Dark World, people might say, oh, yeah, they needed Endgame to make that a better film. They didn't need Endgame to make it a better film. They did it for everything. And Thor: The Dark World is still a pretty okay film on its own. I enjoyed it the first time I saw it. I go back to it. I'm like, this isn't as great, but I like it still. And then they just say, no, we're not trying to redo a bad movie. We're just adding to a movie that was good and making it better.
Yep.
Which is different than trying to make a really not good movie at all and change up why, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, I agree completely. But yeah, I wish like it's so weird that they're both owned by Disney and they have such different things that are important to them. Like
2 words. Kevin Feige.
Yep.
That's really it.
Which now that like Dave Filoni is the executive creative director of Lucasfilm, we might get that in the future as long as Kathleen Kennedy like lets him executive direct and stuff. So we might actually see that in the future. But up until this point, it's been, hey, whatever this one person wants to do with their project. No, you need to still have someone who oversees that, not just, ooh, this will make money. But oh well.
I am interested in what Star Wars is doing in the future because I know nothing. I don't know much of any lore or anything outside. I have no idea where they would go. So it's nice to kind of know that. So with MCU, I know the places they're going, and they're still like comics and different things that I don't know the storylines of that well. I just know of, like Kang. I'm excited about Kang because I know of him, but I don't really know his story. But I know X-Men. I know Fantastic Four. I know She-Hulk. I know a bit about Moon Knight. I know about all those things and where they could go. I know nothing of Star Wars. So that helps me be like, just give it to me. Or at least the big things, because you the only problem with that is you got to catch my attention. So like half the shows and stuff that they've said, oh, we're coming out with, I'm like, I don't know what that is, but okay.
But yeah, and like, I hate that like they've essentially canceled Rangers of the New Republic, which I thought was going to be really interesting because we don't know anything about the New Republic because all they do is they get blown up and you see them for what, like 2 seconds in The Force Awakens, and then they're all destroyed, and then you don't really encounter them anymore. And then the Rangers of the New Republic was supposed to be like the introduction of all of that stuff into the universe to see what it's all about. And then Gina Carano did her thing, and then they decided, oh, we don't have a lead for the show, so let's just scrap the idea. Instead, like, you have other characters in that universe that you could have put in there. Like, I mean, the Dave Filoni character in Mandalorian, and then the other guy that I cannot remember his name, they could have done something with them, or any of their other Rose Gallery of characters that would have been alive during this time that were in the New Republic setting. But they decided, oh, we don't have Gina, so let's just scrap this. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. But so let's go. I know we can't talk too much about Schmoedown stuff because of things that have happened. But Mark Riley versus Liz Shannon Miller. I swear, last week I messaged you immediately after the show because the match was almost over, and I was like, I am absolutely cursed. I am not making choices any. Nope. That was awful.
Yeah, well, it was a close one. But Liz looked a lot better in this one than she did in her defeat against Roka. I'm with her. Frost Nixon isn't necessarily a biopic, but that like at least is like, oh, this wasn't something like she didn't know. This was more something in her head. She was like, that doesn't seem to make sense. Let me find something else. And knowing how much she really cares about this, she's going to be dangerous in that tournament. She's gonna really, really get into whoever she comes up against first.
Yeah, I know we talked about it last week, but now, like, Riley's with the Den. So, do you think Riley will be in the tournament?
So let's see. They have
Preston,
Peggy, Goddard, Riley, Jader, Rachel. Am I missing anybody who's just like strictly singles and teams for the Den? Del Rio. No, Del Rio left. He went to the dungeon. He moved over to the dungeon. Out of those, I think so. I think it's gonna end up being Riley, Peggy, Goddard. All depends on whether or not Saul's going to be in the tournament or not, which all depends on my match. So I'm going to leave Goddard. Goddard's a maybe. Because if Saul's in the tournament, then Goddard's going to singles. If I'm in the tournament, Goddard's going to IG. So I'm going to leave him as a somewhat. I think they might put Jader in there. He's had a bit of a run, or at least some momentum going his way. So with that, I think and Preston and Paul. I would think Paul. So yeah, I feel like Riley should probably be in the tournament outside of his scheduling and how he's feeling, but I think Riley it's probably going to be in the tournament. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up their let's see. Yeah, they got Preston, Goddard, Riley, Peggy, Rachel, Jader. Yeah, so all the people that you named. So I'm trying to yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yep. So is there? I'm trying to think if there's any matches that I guess next Saturday is Collision, correct?
Collision. Oh, I don't know if you froze or I froze or we both froze. There we go. Next Saturday's Collision. Paige and Rachel's match just came out yesterday, which I'm very happy about. Did you watch that match?
I have not had the chance.
Oh, well, then I'll let it go, even though you may know what happened now. But Paige and Rachel's match came out yesterday, which was good. But yeah, next week is Collision. Next Saturday, which is now open to the public. It's not going to be a pay-per-view. And as of now, it's coming out 12 Pacific time, so 3 o'clock. I always forget how long these things are. So I'm like, is it going to be a 3 hour? Is it going to be a 4 hour? Because they're going to do the whole pre-show and then like the conversations in between each match. And then like and DeMolante Kelly is going to be long because it's a championship. Yeah, so it'll be a good long event.
Yeah, and of course I know 2 of them were taped in California, the team title and then your match. So yep. I know we're probably not allowed to talk about either one of those. I don't know if they were filmed at the same time, but so I'll ask about the online ones because do you know anything about those?
I shall not speak upon whether I know or not.
Okay, so I will just talk. So let's see, Kevin Smith versus Marisol. Man, I want Marisol to win. That's the only one. Like, I understand, like, Kevin Smith's the big money match, him versus Dan Murrell, but Dan would kill him, and that's no fun to see. And
yeah, though I will say Kevin Smith is as much as he's the celebrity, he knows a lot more than a lot of people give him credit for. I know a lot of his spiel is having fun, taking a long time to answer his questions with all his banter before flipping his board, but he knows a lot. He actually answers the questions very well. He's never, yes, he played Flaus or whatever in Jericho, But Stacy is an actual like opponent, and he did really well on that match. Like Brittany Young, he did as well as Brittany Young, and Brittany Young murdered last match. Like she was great. So I think Marisol is gonna win, but I don't think it's gonna be as big of a like knockout TKO type situation. I think both of them are going to have to answer some type of round 3 question, but I think I do believe Marisol's going to pull it out.
Yeah, and then Demolanta versus Kelly. That one's hard because really that could go either way. According to which one misses first, that's like unless we get like an Alex Damon Demolanta 2 where they both missed really early, and then. But I think that's going to be one of those cases on who misses first, the other one's going to win. But I would love to see Kelly win.
Yeah, Swag needs the points badly. And my only thing is Demolanta has had matches. Laura has not. She has had to wait 5 months.
Yeah, she's had the one match in February that she had Sonali, and then
this like these type of things. So like thinking about this, if Laura loses, I'm gonna assume she's going into tournament because she hasn't been able to get many matches. But if you do that, Ace is not in the tournament, which is crazy. So like. And the other way around, if Demolanta loses, then Whiteley doesn't get another shot, and he brings a lot of people, and he's really good. He's really entertaining to watch. And like speaking of that, that makes me think about some of the rumblings that have been going around that next season is going to be like a lot different in terms of like not as many people playing, and factions are going to be different because just the fact that like this, and then on the other side for the dungeon. Either Mara or Parker are not playing in this tournament, which is also crazy. So that, I can see how like the way things are set up. Like if it was perfect, all the tournaments would be 16 player tournaments or more, so everybody can get in it and stuff. But I think with like with the sponsorships and like money wise, that can't always happen. So I can see why it sucks because if there's a lot, if the factions are less, there's going to be a lot of people we got introduced to this year that aren't going to be playing next year. But it's going to be a lot easier to not have these. Well, this person everybody wants to see in a tournament, it's not going to be able to play in the tournament because their faction already has a spot. So it's a lot.
Yeah, that's the problem with they made singles 32, but then they made teams 8. And then they did 8 and 8 for IG and Star Wars. So singles could last out the rest of the season. And I'm like, man, like if you didn't do as many of these little brackets throughout the season, you could have started the tournaments in June and did 16 people. Because like honestly, the fact that like I'm not gonna say that Thomas Harper, that little Star Wars tournament, I think may have been just not super necessary because you already have a match at Collision, which means you're going to have another match sometime during the end of the year, and then you're going to have one at Spectacular. So that's like we've had more Star Wars matches this year for the championship than we have in the last 4 years combined.
Well, that's because Star Wars is probably, truthfully, one of the most favored divisions in the Schmoedown. So I'm not surprised that Star Wars gets the most matches because Star Wars kind of gets the most love.
It's so weird though, like the thought that you're gonna have all these matches in this division whenever just the championship matches, like the matches themselves, like you said, Thomas Harper's not going to be able to be in this next tournament because he's already the number one contender for the championship. And they're going to have.
I was thinking about that in terms of like my match coming up because it's the number one contender match, and it's like, okay, I lose, I go in a tournament. I win, I'm probably out of the tournament, but I have a title shot. So
yeah, but then you have the title shot in like September or something because you don't have the actual, like they don't have Chandru versus Mike until August. The 14th is when it's being filmed. So Chandru versus Mike, and if that's in August, they probably already started the IG tournament, I would assume, by then. So that means only one of them is going to be in the tournament. And then the winner of that has to face either you or Saul in September or October. So then if the winner of you and Saul beats the champion, that means we don't get Chandru or Mike in the IG tournament that's coming up, potentially, according to when they start scheduling all that stuff.
No, we'll get one of them. We'll either get Chandru or Mike. So between those two matches, between Chandru and Mike and then me and Saul, basically it's going to end up being two of us are in the tournament and two of us are playing for a title. And that's the risk you take. Whoever loses, it's basically probably going to be, they can start the IG tournament already, but they can schedule the last match of that tournament to be the loser of the title match versus the last seed. So they can have that as the last one that's being taped. So that whoever loses this title match coming up between Mike and Chandru, they can go into the tournament. And then whoever loses between me and Saul is definitely already going to be in the tournament.
Yeah.
So, and that's the risk you run of risk, because it's not really a risk, but that's the risk you run of like going for a title. You lose the title, you got to wait. You lose the title shot, you got to wait. So like if I lose or Saul loses the title shot we get, we're done for the year.
Yeah.
Period. But like both Saul and I are like, no, give us that title shot. Screw this tournament. Give us the title shot. We lose it, sure, but we got a title shot. What if we win it? That means we get to have two title shots before the end of the year, most likely, because not only do we get this one against Mike or Chandru, but then we also get the one at the end of the year at Spectacular after the tournament.
Yeah.
So the both of us would be like, yeah, I'd rather have the chance at a title shot and then a title defense than going into that 8-person tournament.
Then, of course, we're doing in singles, they're doing the little mini tournament with Chance and Jeff and JT and Adam Collins.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how when they're going to start filming those. So will all 4 of those people not be able to be in the tournament?
It's a really, especially with that one, it's a really big bracket. And because it's a really big bracket, there are 32 people. There are 16 matches. So they'll probably just schedule like the matches of whoever of the 2 losers or 3 losers of that match. No, probably 2 losers. Because what's probably going to end up happening is like October 9th might be the Merlin and Ethan is the first.
Yeah.
I would assume that this little mini tournament will get that New York slot. So the winner of that tournament and whoever's the championship between Ethan and Dan will probably get that October 9th slot. Those 2 people won't be in the tournament, most likely, because they're getting that title shot. But with there being 16 different matches, match 15 and 16 will just be the match they record between the losers of those two semifinals and final. So the 3, 14, 15, and 16. They'll just have those taped last so they could like figure out who it is, because they got plenty of people they can match. They can tape beforehand. And they don't need to. They can also tape those before the title shot. So,
yeah, like it's so weird that because, like, let's say Chance wins his match and Collins wins his match, that's two of Corruption's best players that are probably not going to be in the tournament because they won.
It would be one. It would just be one because whoever loses between Chance and Collins, they'll go in the tournament. It's only the one who's going for the title that won't be in the tournament. Because again, there's so many matches that needs to be taped. They can match all the ones that aren't in that tournament. And then they need matches 1 through 13. That's 13 matches they need to record anyway. And then match 14 can be the loser of one semifinal. Match 15 can be the loser of the next semifinal. And then let's say it's Chance and Collins. Match 16 will be the loser between Chance and Collins. They'll immediately go to the tournament. So it's only one of them. The only people missing out of the tournaments are the ones going for the titles. That's it.
Okay. Well, because even that is like, where does Marisol fit into this? Because if let's say she beats Kevin Smith, then she has to face Dan, which that would be the next championship match after Ethan. And then Collins will get a champion, or the winner of this mini tournament will get a championship after Marisol. So that would probably be October, November before that championship match happens. So I'm thinking the winner.
They've been doing a lot of singles titles. They've been doing single title matches a lot though.
Yeah, and that doesn't include we might get we're going to get a lot of defenses by Dan if he defends against Irwin, and then if he defends against Marisol, and then if he defends against
Kevin Smith.
Yeah, that's true.
Or Kevin Smith.
My prediction, and since I'm predicting Marisol, we should just assume that the curse is going to happen and she loses. But hopefully not. God, that would be the worst. I'm officially, if that happens, I'm not making predictions anymore. Nope. I've already refused to do a prediction for your match and Shazam versus Corruption because the people I want to win, I don't want to speak into the universe and then lose because then I'll feel bad. But yeah, those are the two matches that I'm not willing to make predictions for because then I'll feel bad when it happens. But yeah, there's going to be so many matches this season in the singles division for the championship that if Dan defends all of them, he'll have 4 defenses before Collision or before Spectacular, and that's
so it's definitely going to be Dan, Ethan, then it's going to be whoever Marisol or Kevin plays, then it's going to be whoever wins that mini tournament, and then probably Spectacular.
Yeah,
unless they want to. So that's 3 that definitely needs to happen. And I don't know whether or not they want to do Marisol at New York or they want to do the mini tournament at New York. If they do Marisol at New York, then that means there'll probably be 4. The one in August, the one in October, the one with the mini tournament, and then the one after the end of the big 32-person tournament. If they want to do the other way, there might be 5 where they will do this one in August. They'll do the Marisol one before New York. Then they'll do the mini tournament in October. Then they'll maybe try to squeeze another one in between October and November. And then it's a lot of title matches they're trying to get in.
It's quite a lot. And I have Merle beating Irwin. That one, that's the reason why I just assume.
I can take the curse there. Go ahead with the curse right there. That's fine.
Yeah.
That one's good.
Because I think his goatness can override my curse. So me making that prediction, that one doesn't and I refuse to predict Chandra versus Mike as well because I don't want to curse either one of those two because they're so good that I feel Chandra's such a good character, but Mike is such a good human being, and I'm I don't know. But yeah, man, we've talked about Schmoedown a lot. But yeah, everything's good, and I know I'm gonna move to movies for just a little bit, but I know I saw Ben Goddard post on Twitter about how the exclusion of the Quidditch World Cup is just a travesty in Goblet of Fire. And I'm wondering, like, we've talked about the movies, and some weeks you haven't been here, so you haven't been able to see me go on my little rants about book versus movie or whatever. But what do you think is the single biggest thing that's been left out of the books that the movies haven't had?
So what I think I've said it before, but I'll say it again. These are the reasons why I don't say completely, but like 75% to 75%, I separate the books and the movies. I cannot compare the books and the movies because the majority of people going into these movies, even if it's a small majority, have never read the books. So they're going in looking just for a good movie. There are people who purposely wait until the last movie come out and then go back to the book so you can add more detail to the movies you already love. So the Quidditch World Cup, yeah, sure, that is a big omission, but thinking about the fact that you can't make a 4-hour movie, that the Quidditch World Cup doesn't, the actual outcome of it and the playing of it does not move the plot forward in this book. Especially if you don't have Ludo back. You took Ludo Bagman out. So Ludo Bagman is not in the story. What is the point of having the Quidditch World Cup in this movie? Then just have another spectacle. You don't need it. It doesn't move the plot forward in any way, especially without Bagman in the film. So it's like, just say that they're there, introduce Crumb. Crumb is the plot point. Crumb is the plot point that moves it forward. Nothing else of it. So you don't. Yeah, I was mad. I was like, oh man, I wanted to see this match. But that's just for my own personal, like, I want to see a Quidditch match. That's it. But there's nothing else that it serves for that movie if you're not going to have that big of a side character, if you're going to take that side character out.
Yeah.
The omission that I think was the biggest omission in the entire series that isn't really an omission, but a change, that even though I still enjoy Goblet of Fire, it's the one I was like, that's some, y'all could have done something with this. That third task.
Yeah.
Going from a maze of creatures and magic and things that I was like, that entire movie was like, I can't wait for task 3. I can't wait for task 3. And then it just ended up being a squishy maze. That I was mad at. That I was like, y'all could have done better with that. And I don't understand. Y'all have the hugest freaking budget in the world. You could have done the Sphinx. You could have done the magical thing that flipped the world upside down. You had Acromantulas before. Bring them back. That was a complete and utter, like, why did you not have a dope ass third task? Because that is what a lot of people were waiting for. That was the travesty to me. Because it wasn't an omission. It was just a change that wasn't necessary.
Yeah, I agree. Like the Quidditch World Cup, the big things with that are, we meet Crumb, and at the end, you see the Death Eaters attack. Those were the two major plot points from that event.
And that was in the movie.
Happened, and they were in the movie. And I agree, the maze should have been better. Like having the Bogart show up, and then it turned into a Dementor. Great. The Sphinx and the riddles. I know a lot of people. Some people wouldn't have liked that. I understand why they don't include it, but like,
who wouldn't have liked that? Why wouldn't you have liked that? That is miles ahead better than a bush that is just overtaking you.
Yep, but I understand. Like the filmmakers were like, we got to get through this thing so he can touch the goblet, so he can go resurrect Voldemort. Like, I hate it. It's stupid rationale. Like, it's dumb. But, like, at the same time, like, I'm the same person. Like, I hate the Half-Blood Prince because they don't have all of Voldemort's backstory in the movie. Like, all of that is, like, you see in the movies, you're like, okay, Voldemort's, you don't understand why he's such a big threat. In Half-Blood Prince in the book, you see all of his backstory, and I'm like, I wish that had been in the movie.
I'll tell you the truth. I actually, every time I think about it, Half-Blood Prince goes up in my rankings. I'd say really good movie to me. What did they not show besides the Gaunt family?
Well, they don't include much of the They talk about him at the orphanage.
Yes.
That's fine, and they only include like the one little picture of him at the um, where he hides the Horcrux at. Like it's in a picture in the background, whereas like in the book, it's where he like tortures some kids and like all of that. And then yeah, there's the Gaunt stuff, and then him going after the cup and the
Yeah,
lock from.
that would have. I think that would have made the movie overly long. That would have been a point where it made the movie overly long. I think the one I was okay with them not including the Gaunt story, just because while reading the book, every time I go back to the book, that's the one part I'm like, let's hurry up with this. Let's hurry up and get through it. I think the little hint to him putting on the ring. They hadn't really talked about his family that much. Should kind of just leave that alone. I think the one backstory that I would have liked to see, just because it's so interesting in the books, is, and I think this is Half-Blood Prince, is when he goes and asks for the Defense Against the Dark Arts post. Yeah. That I would have loved to see, because in the book, I didn't want that chapter to end. That whole conversation and back and forth between Dumbledore and Voldemort was mesmerizing as I was reading the book. And I love that part in the book. So I think I would have loved to see that, but I can see why they got rid of the cup, and they got rid of the Gaunt family, because they don't really harp on it in the rest of in Deathly Hallows. So yeah,
I'm just like, I love lore. I love it more than anything. I love lore, and just like not including that stuff, I'm like, Half-Blood Prince. But hey, it happens. We all have our little moments in movies where we're like, hey, I still think like I love Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets because they don't take as much out. Which, granted, they're little books, so they don't have to. Right. And as the books get bigger, you need more material, which is the reason why, like, I agree they should do like a Founders series or a Marauder series when they're going to make this TV show. But when people say, "What if they just remade the books?" I'm like,
no.
I personally would love it, because then you get all these little details that aren't in the movies, because you don't want a 10-hour movie that would include all this. But if you're doing 10 one-hour episodes, you can include all the stuff from the books.
But that means you would have to do it for 7 books, meaning you'd have 70 hours. And I don't think we know what happens.
Yeah.
We don't need to we don't go read the books. If you want to know details, go read the books. I don't think there's enough time, and we don't know anything. So like the reason you can go, Percy Jackson is a perfect example. Let's not remake something that's already great. Let's remake something that dropped the ball out of great story and great lore. And Percy Jackson is the perfect example of how they just cracked on an amazing series. So you need to go back and try again in a different format. And that's why I'm so excited for that series.
Oh, I agree. And I agree with the same thing. #Aragon remake, because that movie was Jeremy Irons in that movie was great. The rest of the movie, I would rather drink bleach than watch the rest of it. But and that's how I like. Yeah, if you're gonna remake stuff, but like Percy Jackson, that's Disney. Aragon, that's Disney, and they're making everything in the universe, minus the Artemis Fowl thing that they did, and that wasn't so great. But they got all the things. But like Warner Brothers, they're like, hey, we can remake Harry Potter. And I would wish that they would rather do like a Founders series where we see why Salazar ran off and did his own thing. That'd be great. Or why he decided, hey, I'm going to stick a snake in the basement, and then all of that. But so as a person who you've read the Harry Potter books, someone asked me a question the other day. They were like, so they're making Dumbledore's army. why did they hide in the room of requirement, which apparently everyone in the history of the school has found that room? Because when you see it in Deathly Hallows Part 2, every item in the universe is in there. So why would they not use the Chamber of Secrets as their hideout if they have Harry who can open it and all that? And I'm like, I don't have an answer for that. I am the worst fan ever. Why am I like this?
They had an answer for that in the book. Oh, because it's trapped. It's blocked off. Remember the whatever happened, the rocks fell down. You can't get into the chamber.
Right, but I'm sure with enough wizards down there, they could clear the area out.
I think it was a combination of that and then having to get a bunch of people through a bathroom all like really quickly without people seeing them go. You have to get the guys into the girls' bathroom. Moaning Myrtle's going to be yelling the whole time. Then you got to keep people down there. And then you got to move the rocks. And you'd be like, don't worry about the big ass basilisk skeleton just chilling right there. Don't worry about that at all. Yeah, it's a lot. And then having to get back out, it's a lot. It's a lot.
That's true. But like Hermione and Ron were able to do it just by themselves to get to the basilisk.
Two people. That was my thing. 2 people are a lot easier than 30.
Yeah. But then at least, we wouldn't have the entire moment of Cho Chang betraying them because she couldn't have got down there by herself. Like, there's no way anyone who wasn't Harry wouldn't have been able to get down there. So, which I guess you need, like, the tension of, oh, they're found. Oh, Dumbledore's army thing. So you need that for the book. But when they asked me that, I was like, I don't have an answer for you. I'm sorry. I'm awful.
I vaguely remember when they were going through it in the book, somebody had mentioned the Chamber of Secrets and they said some reason why they wouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to reread those. But yeah, like all the movies are good. Like, I hate that Robert pointed out how awful Crimes of Grindelwald was to me.
It's not a great film at all.
No, I know, but I guess because I had always seen it as an adaptation of the novels and not a continuation or a prequel to the Harry Potter movies, I was just like, oh, cool. So the little moments, I'm like, hey. But now I think about it, I'm like, they only go to Nicholas Flamel's house to meet him and to see the stone, and that's the only reason why they go. And I'm like, I hate you. I hate you so much. Why would you? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
It's real disjointed. And the thing that made Fantastic Beasts bearable is the 4 of them together. So they immediately just separate the 4 of them. And then just the long, they tried to stuff like 4 hours worth of lore into a 2-hour film. So it was just explanation, more explanation. Let me give you some more explanation, then explain some. And it was just, it was fine, but it just, the more I watch it, the less I'm interested.
Yeah. I did like Queenie being like, ooh, I'm going to go with Grindelwald. And I'm like, I mean, in a way, I'm like, I understand. But at the same time, Grindelwald doesn't like muggles. So he's not going to support you marrying one. What are you doing? He's going to hate that idea. But, hey, she'll find out, I guess. That, and, like, that's the one part where I know a lot of people are like, hey, just don't do the movies anymore. But now that she has crossed through the fire, I think something's going to happen to where if she turns on Grindelwald, she'll end up dying. Because she chose to join him and the fire spared her. So if she's like, he's about to kill Jacob, she's going to get in the way and then she'll die because of it. And yeah.
Yeah. So. And killing off characters you like have always been a good decision. You may not like it, but it's like you have stakes. So I don't know. I am interested To see how Mads Mikkelsen takes over as Grindelwald. He's a great actor. So I had to debate this before, and I lost this debate, which was really stupid. I won the debate, but the judges saw otherwise because they didn't know what they were talking about. But I think they can do what they did for the Harry Potter series and make the third book a third movie, a change in tone that doesn't focus on Grindelwald too much, just a ancillary character that has a connection, and just change it to go better from here on out.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Like, I hate that the story is doing some of the things that it's doing. Because, like, the entire Aurelius Dumbledore thing, like, Albus can never find out about it, that he's his brother, or he's lying to Harry in the end of Deathly Hallows.
I have the other way. Grindelwald's lying to him. Aurelius, his name is not Aurelius. From the moment he said Aurelius, or the moment before he said Aurelius, because I knew he was going to say it, I was like, oh, he's lying to him to get his name is not Dumbledore. He's not a Dumbledore. No. Period. That's what I think.
Yeah, and like I know a lot of people have theorized that he is Ariana's Obscurus, because she obviously, like, looking in hindsight, Ariana was an Obscurial.
That's what I'm wanting to find out, because that's like the biggest mystery of like what actually happened in that room with Ariana. I want to find that out. And with the Obscurial, I'm like, okay, she's probably that. I'd love to get into that. But I really don't. I really hope they don't actually make him an actual Dumbledore, and it's just like, oh, well, then nobody gets to say anything. No, because Aberforth would have brought it up.
Yeah, like, unless Albus and Aberforth never find out, because they still think Ariana, they are still mad at each other because of Ariana. And if this was like the rebirth of Ariana or her Obscurus, they would, probably have a conversation about that instead of him, just being at Hogsmeade with his goats and not mentioning them, not talking for years and years and years and years and years. So,
well, just thinking about it, I just realized this is after Ariana died.
Correct.
So you know what? I take that back. If they find a connection to Ariana with him, but they get rid of it and cancel it, and it is all just Ariana in some way, sure. You got to reach for that, though. There's a huge reach for that. But if they make it make sense, you know what? I'm all right with it. It just can't be another sibling. It's not another sibling.
Yeah, like, I know some people have been like, because obviously their dad is in prison, and someone was like, don't they get conjugal visits in prison? And I'm like, yes, in the 21st century that happens, but I doubt Percival is out there like, just getting one off and then producing a child that they just don't know about. I'm like, then that's not really, like, there's no connection there. Whereas right now they're implying that they're actually like connected. If it's just, oh, the bastard son of your dad is just chilling around in America, that's not as exciting as, oh, another actual whatever. I don't
know how that. I'm gonna stick with Grindelwald's lying and something else is happening, or there's some connection that Ariana and Credence are somehow connected, and in some magical way that I can't fathom right now. One of those two. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm like, part of me does not want to see the next three movies, because, man, but at the same time, like, I want to see the duel with Grindelwald, between Albus and Grindelwald, and like during this time, Voldemort's coming on the rise. So I'm like, are you gonna see Tom Riddle do his thing, and like, will he? Obviously, like, by the time 1945 rolls around, he is Lord Voldemort by that time, and like already like getting people. His Death Eaters have already started assembling and stuff, and he's already opened the Chamber of Secrets, and like that's a fantastic beast technically. So are we going to see Newt at Hogwarts during this time so we can see a young Riddle? And then
I only want a very tiny Voldemort cameo. I don't want anything else besides this is Tom Riddle and he's gone. Leave Tom Riddle the hell out of these stories. I want nothing outside of a quick cameo. I need nothing more. You don't need to bring him into this at all. Leave it out.
Yeah, I agree. Like if we see in like the third or fourth movie that like they're at Hogwarts and you see the body of Moaning Myrtle go by and Hagrid's arrested, and then you just hear about, oh, Tom Riddle's the one that confronted Hagrid and found out he's the Slytherin's heir or whatever, and that Hagrid is the one who released the monster. And I don't want to see Hagrid. I just want to hear about him. And then if you hear about, oh, it was Tom Riddle who confronted him, that's all I need to hear is that, oh, yep, he's already scheming in the background. Cool.
You know what other cameo I would accept is at the end of like the last movie, and like as just a quick thing, you see Tom Riddle leaving Headmaster Dumbledore's office, and somebody asked, who was that? He was like, oh, it was just somebody trying to get the Defense Against the Dark Arts job. Be done with it. To head back to that chapter that nobody ever saw. I would love that. I would absolutely love that. I would love to see it, but I think it's too long of a scene to include in Fantastic Beasts. But just a quick, oh yeah, he asked for the Defense Against the Dark Arts job, and I told him no. I would love that.
Yeah, and like that's one of those weird moments because he applies for the job twice. Once under Dippet, and then once under Dumbledore. And then after the second time, he's really going there to plant the diet down.
Put the diet in the requirement.
Yep. And then, so that's good. And so what is your take on the McGonagall thing?
I think they just screwed up.
Yeah, because she's supposed to be like -8 years old.
Yeah, I think they just screwed up, which is weird because J.K. wrote it. They never technically say her first name, though I feel like I remember reading her backstory, and her backstory is that her dad's a McGonagall, not her mom. And I don't remember, I might be wrong, but I don't remember her having any older siblings. Maybe she does. Maybe they'll say that's the older McGonagall and not Minerva, because I don't think they ever say Minerva. I think they just say Professor McGonagall, right?
Correct.
So maybe I just think it was a screw up, or like maybe a studio thing where they were like, we don't care, just put her in it anyway. That's it. Yeah. They just messed up.
So I've seen that people be like, oh, she uses a time turner to go back in time to help Dumbledore out. But also, like in the first Harry Potter movie, when Harry's looking in the case and he sees his dad's thing as a seeker. One, his dad was a chaser in the books. He was not a seeker. But also, you see a badge that says M. McGonagall on the Quidditch team as well, and I'm like, that also doesn't work because she's way too old. So like the movie
could have been a different McGonagall though.
Yeah, but like you said, like her dad was a Muggle and her mom was the witch. So her dad, that last name is a Muggle name.
Studio, not knowing the lore and just putting it in there. I forgot that he was a chaser. I thought he was a seeker too, but
Yeah. But so that's pretty much all of that. And I think we're running about an hour. So I think we're gonna call it a day. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I know you got One Gotta Stay. You released the video yesterday.
Yes.
About topics are another assortment of. I don't know if you want me to say what they are.
Oh yeah, go ahead, because it's out. So if people want to sign up, I sign up, reach out to me, say you want in. Especially because I'm not going to be a part of this. I'm just hosting because I don't know anime. But my last anime episode was one of the funnest episodes I've had. So I had to run it back because people really argue about their anime.
This is another assortment of anime that I have never watched. So I'm like, ooh, I don't have anything to say about this. Like at least the Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z, Avatar: The Last Airbender one, I was like, ooh, I know this. But like this one, I'm gonna watch it and be like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm gonna watch it because it's your content.
That's what I'm doing while I'm sitting there. I'm just gonna help run it and let everybody go because I don't know about My Hero Academia at all. I watched my fiance watch Attack on Titan. And then I watched a couple of episodes of One Punch Man with my family. And oh crap, what was the last one? One Punch Man, My Hero Academia. And I never watched it as a kid, but Sailor Moon is a classic anime that is like the sleeper wild card. Probably won't get saved, but it would be fun if somebody did. But I don't know anything about that either. So
yeah, that's the only one I've watched. So that would be the one because my wife's best friend loves Sailor Moon. So I was like, well, I gotta keep that because if my wife finds out I just got rid of her best friend's show, she's gonna beat me. But yeah, the other three I'm like, I've never watched, but I do like watching your video, and the puns that you have are pretty funny. So good job.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
But do you have anything?
That'll be on Monday, hopefully at 6 CST.
Yeah, and do you have anything else you would want to promote? I know Collision will be out before our next episode is posted. So
yeah, Collision will be next Saturday. At the moment, the entire event pre-show starts at 12 Pacific time, 3 o'clock Eastern, and bite-sized breakdown everywhere. My name in Facebook, Twitter, and IG. Y'all can find me. I'm pretty easy to find. My name is very unique. So,
yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I always appreciate it. Yeah, this was a good show. Thank you.
All right.
We're signing out. And since Robert's not here, I'll go ahead and say his catchphrase. Make sure to tip your virtual waitresses.